Thanks, Bob. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is probably better. Bob warned me there that the sound was off, so I fixed that. I was just telling everybody good morning and hello and welcome to the show, and telling everybody that Bob would be calling the group here in a second, so we'll be picking up that call and listening into a little bit of the pre-show. So sorry about the intro there with no sound. I do apologize. So I was saying that it was interesting that Bob and I are always on the same wavelength. This morning I woke up to see what is the topic of today's show, and it happens to be Behind the Curve documentary reveals the globe Earth desperation. So I was like, oh, Bob, man, you hit so close to home. I'm sure everyone has seen, at this point, the Behind the Curve documentary. I'm sure you have. If not, it is on Netflix, which is why it's becoming so widespread now. I guess people weren't able to see it before, and now that it's on Netflix, which I think most people have, everyone's seen it. So now I'm hearing things, from flat earthers saying, oh, jeranism proved the curve of the Earth and is hiding it, and that's pretty frustrating. Let me see here. Am I missing this call? No call yet. Hopefully it's better, Bob. I think I fixed the sound. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for being in the chat. I do appreciate it greatly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some videos done this week. There's lots of good stuff out there. We, of course, had the SpaceX little mission that they're supposed to be sending some craft to the moon that, of course, we could not see disconnect or do anything. Let's answer this call. Greatly. Hello, guys. What's up?
Hello, guys. Howdy, howdy.
What's up, Bob?
Not too much. Just listening into your pre-show, and I'm glad you got your sound fixed.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just had the little mute button on the... Hey, have you noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but I used to think, and maybe I'm just not remembering right, but before I would go live, I'd be able to go to the live page of my video, and then I'd be able to turn on the mute button. But for some reason now, I can't do that until after I go live. Does that sound right?
No, because I can always turn mine on mute beforehand.
Yes, it's so weird because...
I usually do, otherwise I forget about it.
Right. Well, okay, for instance, right now, if I go to the Behind the Curve documentary reveals Globe Earth Desperation, the actual Globebusters show, I just see a little thing in the bottom left-hand corner that says the countdown, but there's no...
Oh, you know what? You're right. They changed that.
Isn't that weird?
That's brand new.
That's new, huh?
Brand new.
Yeah,
wow.
So it was confusing. So I couldn't mute my audio until I went live, and then and the same thing will happen for Globebusters now. Is I'll have to wait. Usually I would have that already muted.
Can you guys hear me good?
I can hear you great.
Hear you fine, John.
Am I too loud? Not loud enough? I'm sure that's not a problem. But...
has that ever been the case, John?
Well,
never.
You sound fine to me, John, but just because of the amount of comments that we've had, maybe you could kick your gain down a bit.
Okay, let me do that. Yeah, trust me, I know. When I used to do telemarketing, and the people that sat next to me hated me. The managers love me because, you got to project your voice sometimes when you're trying to get a point across. But when you're having to sit in proximity to me, or if you're in a headset with my voice, I feel for you guys.
You're that guy whenever telemarketers call that I can always hear the person next to them, yelling and screaming at there.
That was me,
That was
but
you.
I wasn't in the same room even. Okay, so let me go level down on this. Oh, it's up to 100%, so I think about 60 is good. Let me try that.
Okay.
And how does that sound? Any different?
About the same.
Yeah,
You know what? I turned the volume down on my speakers. That's probably why. Hold on. I did the wrong thing. Okay. Recording device levels. Okay. Microphone properties. Microphone 60. How about that?
Talking.
Let me go down even further. I think because I can see visually where the audio levels are, and I think that this ought to do it if even 50 or 40%.
50 might sound good. That sounds a little bit better.
Like that. Okay, how about this? Better?
That sounds better.
Great. Okay, excellent.
Awesome. Where's Zero?
Donde está la Iro Landucci?
I don't know. I haven't heard from him. He's probably on his way to his studio again, doing a Patricia Stern being fashionably late.
El Studio, yes. All right.
Yes. El Studio. So yeah, you're right, Jaron. We are absolutely on the same topic most of the time. We're always reading each other's minds, but in this case, it wasn't difficult this week because I got to tell you guys, man, my comment section has been blowing up with the trolls, saying, "Oh, well, you proved the Earth's curvature, or you proved the Earth's curvature and rotation, and then you tried to cover it up."
Right.
And it's like, oh my God. So yeah, we're definitely going to cover that today, guys. And
It's so
as
sad.
the title, yeah, no doubt, as the title implies, this absolutely reveals the globe earthers' desperation.
Right.
It's comical.
Well,
They'll even
you
latch
know,
on to a movie, a movie which is clearly a movie done with editing and the exact things we've been talking about forever, that they can go in and edit anything they want and make it look any way they want. And that's exactly what they did in this movie, and people are jumping all over it. And, Jaron, you proved curve and you hid it from your subscribers, and that just bothers me more than anything because, Bob, you know better than anybody, I've said from day one, the thing I hate more than anything is liars. And
Yep.
it certainly appears, well, now we're being claimed to be that, which is not true. And the producers of this movie, which are the ones who ended up lying to my face and telling me that they would deal honestly with the movement and portray honestly the testing. And obviously that's not the case.
Well, isn't it funny how you can do everything correct? You can have just volumes and volumes of well-researched work, and then either you make one single mistake or you make a statement that maybe didn't come out right or was taken out of context, and that's what they're going to latch onto. That's what's going to be the story. And I agree, dude. Like, why would we go around trying to deceive people about flat Earth? I mean, that would make us look really stupid. If the Earth was a ball, wouldn't we look stupid trying to trick people into believing the Earth was flat? I mean, my God.
Yeah. But the amazing part of it, John, is, a lot of people have come back and directly quoted what I said. And, it's like, yes, I did say that. Absolutely. But the part that you didn't quote is the part that I said directly before that, indicating that it was actually somebody else that did this. And of course, they try and hang me on the fact that I use the term we instead of he, referring to Rick, the person that actually carried out the test. So when I speak in the we context, I mean that Rick is a member of FE Corps. I am obviously a board officer for FE Corps. And so when somebody does that, yeah, I tended to use the term we, even though, no, it wasn't me. But so
I thought you meant your friends in your head.
Yeah, I know it's a turkey pocket that we. So but yeah, we're gonna cover all that because I mean, yeah, I do not take back one word that I said in that documentary because every bit of it was absolutely true. Did we detect a 15 degree per hour rotation? Yes, but it isn't what you think it is. So there you have it.
Right, man. I can't take anything back from what they said about me other than the few things that I've already mentioned. Like I was pretty upset just at the fact that they filmed my neighbor's house. I've talked about that before and tried to make it look like it was my house. That's a small thing. That's something I could have forgiven. But the ending of the movie being a completely out of sequence little tiny observation that we made, and there was many more observations in both directions throughout that evening, and they just took one little thing out of context and placed it at the end of their movie. And so I've been trying to contact, well, I'm not trying to contact, I've been in contact with the producers of the movie, and I keep writing them statements that I want them to return to me. I say, please return this statement signed, and everything will be forgiven. And basically the statement just says, in all honesty, that we've taken a portion of the observations that Jaron made that night, and we've taken it out of context and placed it at the end of our movie. Now, of course, they're probably never going to say that, but as I've told them, I said, here, this statement that I'm giving you to read is 100% true. And I say, you told me, and many people don't know, I was the last person that ever signed the release form. In fact, they kind of hounded me by going to North Carolina. I'm not saying that's the only reason they went, but they went to North Carolina and were following me around, talking to me about signing this release form because I hadn't signed it yet. Everyone else had signed, and they just really needed me to sign it. And they took me aside, both of them, in separate moments, and told me how, they understood my concern, and that they would be really dealing honestly. They want to honestly portray the flat earthers and the flat earth movement, and that they would be doing it in good faith. And after I'd heard from both of them enough, I just said, you know what, these guys seem like they're being honest. And I got burned for it because...
That's a shame. That's a real shame because, they just told you to your face everything you wanted to hear to get you to sign. And once you signed, that's it. They can do whatever they want. And, I've been invited next weekend to go to this. It's like a science convention, but it's really targeted towards a younger audience. And there's a woman that has, I guess, a fairly popular YouTube channel. I haven't looked into it yet, but they're wanting to do some kind of an interview. And I don't mind doing some kind of an interview or whatever, but at the end of the day, I don't think that I'll want to do something unless I can have some degree of creative control of the final product, because it's so easy to misrepresent us and take snippets of what we say out of context and make us look foolish. And that's no matter how careful you are and no matter how many caveats you put to your statements, they can still take it out of context. So I just, we got to be careful.
I think Rob Skiba said it best when he said any interview he ever does now, the rule is that he has to be recording it at the same time. And if I would have done that same thing, if I would have had somebody out there recording our observations, which at the time seemed ludicrous. I mean, I needed help with other aspects of it, and then there was this 4-person crew with cameras and lights and everything. So I said, well, I don't need to record any of this because here's this documentary team recording it. Little did I suspect that they would be able to take an observation out of the middle, take my face saying, ooh, that's interesting, and put it at the end of their movie as if
Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
Quentin Tarantino did the science documentary.
Yeah, so that's the hardest part. And then, the even bigger part, at least for me, and we'll talk about this on the show, is the fact that they originally had told me, and this was also in that statement, that originally they told me that I would be able to have the footage that didn't make the movie. And so, like I said, if somebody else would have been recording it, I'd be able to easily show, look, they took this little portion out of the middle and put it here at the end of their movie. Now, I didn't have anybody recording it, so that's not going to help. But they had originally told me I'd be able to have the other footage. Well, after the movie came out, and that was like a year later, right, a year after those observations, I said, okay, now can I have the footage? And they said, oh, it's in our Netflix contractual obligations that we can't release any of the footage. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. So, I mean, it's just so convenient for them.
Even though it wasn't going to be used in the video.
Yeah, the video's already done, right? The movie's out. So all the other footage that they have, I said, well, let me have that footage because then I'll be able to show people what you've done. Well, of course, they're not going to give me that because it does exactly what I said it does. It'll prove that they've just lied in their movie.
How long did they spend actually recording you? Maybe was it more than an hour or two? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that whole observation was probably, from an hour before sunset.
Okay, let me rephrase that. How long did they spend recording you in terms of like interview wise? Not all the stuff with the experiment, but just talking with you and asking you questions and responses.
They came in my house and probably I sat on the couch and the guy Daniel filmed me for probably well over an hour, and none of that footage made the movie at all.
Yeah, and they also they followed me around for literally 3 days. They were at my house for a full day. They followed us out to Fort Collins, myself, ODD, Richie from Boston, IPS, and then of course they were at the conference and talked to him in depth there. So I mean, they had literally hours and hours and hours of me just flat smacking.
Right. And they pick that one snippet.
Right.
Yeah. And like in Jaron, in your case, it would have been relatively painless to record everything. Well, not everything, but what they did with your interview process or whatever. But in your case, Bob, like, I don't know. I mean, it would be difficult. I mean, not too difficult, but, it'd be a bit of a challenge to get everything recorded, as Rob Skiba said. But I guess something's better than nothing. If you can show that here they clearly are taking me out of context and, here's, 5 hours of me providing a caveat statement to this, But yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so they tried to come back and answer a few of my questions with, I asked them, why did you film my neighbor's house? And then try to make it look like in the video that it was my house. That seems, like a low. And their excuse for that was they said, oh, well, if you look back at the video, at one point you say something about the laser being like a laser for chasing cats. So then they said, so then we cut to your neighbor's house where there was a bunch of cats. Like, oh, boy.
Yeah, but it made you look like the crazy cat man.
Right, exactly. That's what I said. I said, well, anybody watching that movie, anybody other than me, would assume that that was my house. That's the way you made it look in the movie for a reason, you know. So
yeah, and they didn't show my house at all,
right?
Which of course shows very nice,
right? Exactly. and even my house is nice. You know, the house that I lived in before. I don't live there anymore, but you know, the living room was nice where they came in and sat down. We don't live like, you know, dirty cat people or something like that. So I don't know.
Well, come on, I love cats, but I don't have any at the moment. I think the most cats I've had at one time was 6, but that was because my cat had kittens, and so we got rid of, you know, we sold like 5 of them or gave away like 5 of them.
Well, yeah, my neighbor had about 6 cats that I think she knew of, and then there was about 20 that were always straying around, and the neighbors across the street would always have to set up like traps and then take them to the SPCA, and it was a nightmare. But
it is subtle things like that, which, because you already know what the connotations or the sort of subliminal suggestion is to all those cats, and so they are very good at using these sort of subtleties to implant really quite profound ideas into people's minds subconsciously. I mean, like, another good example would be if you watch a movie where there doesn't even have to be any word spoken, no line spoken. If you watch a movie where a guy sits down at a bar and starts slamming liquor, the subliminal suggestion is that he's going through stress and he's at the bar to get rid of stress. But, you know, this sort of subliminal programming really does lead, you know, it's led an entire generations to like alcoholism to deal with their problems, which is really a bad idea. But yeah.
That's true. Okay, guys, so it is now 1 o'clock. Time to cruise over to the other channel. So we're going to take the show over there. Mods, if you would be so kind as to spam the Globebusters link in the chat. We'll all be moving over to the Globebusters channel for the show, and we're going to talk about this in depth. So, Jaron, just go ahead and hang up. John and I will meet you over there after you close out.
Sounds good. I just dropped it in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and hang up. See you guys in a minute.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you joining me. Sorry I was muted there for the first few minutes, but we are just getting ready to go. So, yeah, if you need the link, it's in the chat. If you don't have access to the chat, you can scroll down into the description, hit the first link that's there, and that will take you over to the Globebusters channel. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you over there in 2 minutes. Until then, peace.